All right, guys, this is 12 things you should know before visiting Medellin. Let's start off with number one. Avoid the whole Escobar chat. Again, I know you wonder why would I start off with this one. Believe it or not, people still talk about Escobar, when they think about Medellin. Contrary to what you may think, the vast majority of Colombians are not that thrilled about Pablo Escobar. I mean, of course, you may find a few that hold a lot of respect for him, but they're in the minority. And the overwhelming majority of the locals don't want to hear that you love Escobar or that you just saw him on Netflix, even though it's been like 2 or 3 years now. But you definitely want to talk about Escobar if you don't have to. Number two, what you should do is just take the public transportation. Now, I actually talked about this in my other video, but I really talked about taking the public transportation as a way of touring the city. But obviously, when you trying to maintain a budget and come to the city, taking everything, taking Uber or taxi everywhere is a big mistake. Unlike other cities in Colombia, like Bogota and Medellin, like Bogota and Cartagena, Medellin has some of the best public transportation, which can save you a lot of money when traveling on a budget. I mean, most of the tourist attraction can be accessed, pretty much by, metro, meaning the buses, the train, the tram, the cable cars. I mean, you can get around in the city really good just using metro. Save a lot of money because, those Uber rides adds up. The next thing you want to do, the third, is don't go everywhere in shorts and flip-flops. Now, the city is known for being the nickname, the city of eternal spring, and the weather clearly, represent that. I mean, the climate is wonderful. You got some regular warm days. I won't say hot days, but you got regular warm days. Some hot days, but mostly just warm days and blue skies. So it's naturally, especially if you're from the United States, to wear shorts when the weather is warm. Shorts and t-shirts and flip-flops. But, you will find, and if you watch a lot of my videos, you'll find that most of the Colombians don't wear, shorts. I mean, there's some that wear, especially if they go into some type of sporting events. But for the most part, daytime or nighttime, 80 or 85 degrees, doesn't matter. They wear long pants. So, it's not to say that you can't wear, more casual clothes, but it just be advised is that you may want to kind of blend in sometimes, especially if you going to El Centro for any reason, which is downtown. So that's up to you, but just try not to wear it everywhere. The fourth thing, the airport is outside the city. I think a lot of time when people come to the city or take a trip to the city, they think that the airport is right near the city. I mean, the airport is about, 35 to like 40 minutes away. I mean, it could be an hour if you arrive during rush hour, but definitely if you arrive during non-rush hour, it's about 35 to 40 minutes away. And thank for that, that's only in the last couple of years because they built a new tunnel, to make getting to the city a lot quicker. I mean, the airport is actually in a little small town called Rio Negro. There is a small airport in the city, but it's pretty much used for kind of regional routes, and most travelers, won't be traveling from that airport, even if you're going, from city to city inside Colombia. So just know that. The next thing you want to do is beware of toilet paper in the trash can. Now, this is probably going to be the biggest culture shock that you're going to learn, when you arrive here. Is adjusting to putting dirty toilet paper in the trash can. And you know what I mean. I'm not going to get graphic here, but you know what I mean. I mean, the reason for that is the pipes in Medellin are narrow and the water pressure is pretty low. So plumbing system can't break down large amounts of toilet paper. That's why, they always advise you to throw toilet paper in the trash can as an alternative. Now, that doesn't really happen that often in Poblado, especially some of the hotels. The first time I came here in 2019, I didn't experience that. The second time I came to Medellin, came to Medellin, because I'm still here actually recording this video. It was in 2021, and I experienced that. The host said, don't do it. Now, of course, I'm a creature of bad habit. Being a creature of bad habit, you don't just think about throwing toilet paper in the trash can. It's a natural reflection, just throw it in the toilet after you finish. But I had problems, and the plunger didn't work. And of course I had to call the host, and he wasn't happy. So, but right now, I'm showing a picture of the trash can right now. I don't have to do that now, but it's just kind of an illustration that you may run into places, especially in Airbnbs, where you may need to do that. So just something to think about. All right, the next one is where to stay at in Medellin. Listen, 90% of the foreigners that come to Medellin stay in Poblado. I mean, whenever I get questions from viewers, they always ask me where should they stay. And I always tell them, if this is your first time coming to the city, or even your first time traveling outside the United States or outside your country, then the place you want to stay is Poblado. There are other nice neighborhoods, but I think to kind of get your feet wet, but again, that's what I did the first time I came to the city. I stayed in Medellin. It was my way of having somewhat of a comfort zone. And that way it gave me comfort. It helped with my comfort level. So whenever I kind of ventured out of the Poblado, I always felt like I can go back into a comfortable area. And then maybe the next time you come to the city, you may check out some of the other areas like Laureles, Envigado, Estadio, and a few other barrios that really nice neighborhood. But I think for your first time, just go to Poblado. That's what most of, the area is pretty much catered to pretty much Americans. Well, no, it's not Americans, excuse me. The area is pretty much catered to foreigners, just because of, it kind of gives you what you're used to. It's not the cheapest part, but it definitely has everything that you're used to from whatever country you come from, especially if you're coming from the United States or Canada. So the next thing you want to do is eat like a local. One way you can save a lot of money and eat well, though, instead of eating, the typical upscale restaurant, is to eat as the locals do. This is true for lunch, pretty much only lunch, but sometime in the evening time, but definitely lunch. There are set menus of what they call menu del dia, which is menu of the day, where you can get, a full meal that includes soup, a main dish, maybe consider some type of salad, some type of meat, whether some type of, pork or chicken or some type of beef, some rice, and maybe the plantain. And every once in a while, they throw that egg. I don't know, something about that egg, but sometimes you find a lot of places where they just throw the egg in there, along with some fresh juice, all for about $3 or $4. This is probably one of the best reasons to visit Colombia, because it's just, you can try some incredible exotic Colombian fruits and all the juices that they have in the city. So definitely, want to try, eat some of the local meals. It definitely save you a lot of money. The next one is Spanish is not widely spoken in the city, Medellin. Believe it or not, tourism in Medellin is still relatively new, even though it's been, a few years. But to compare it to Cartagena, tourism is still relatively new. People were visiting Cartagena, but they wasn't really visiting Medellin many, many years ago. So this is not like going to Cancun or something where, everybody in the resort area speak English. Do you need Spanish here? Not necessarily, but just understand that not everybody speaks Spanish here. Even when places where you think they should speak Spanish, a lot of them don't. You may find one person who may speak a little English, but by and large, you'd be surprised that a lot of people do not speak English. I've been saying Spanish, English in Poblado, especially in the main area like Poblado. So just understand that, The next thing, let's talk about the weather. Obviously, the city is called the nickname is the City of Eternal Spring. This nickname comes from the fact that the city is quite green. Flowers are always in bloom. And the weather is supposed to be, moderate thanks to the elevation about less than 5,000 feet. The temperature range between, on average, I would say about 75 to like 78 on average. You get some 80, 82 degree days, but for the most part, it seems like the high 70s. And it's beautiful here. The weather's, they really have two seasons. They have a couple rainy seasons, technically December to March. No, excuse me. The rainy season is really like September to November. And then they have another one from April to May, which is supposed to be rainy season. Whereas December to March is supposed to be the dry season. although I kind of questioned that because February was pretty much a rainy month. I was here in August last year, and it was pretty much dry because, June to August is supposed to be dry season. So, but either way, it doesn't rain all day. It rains. It seems like once it rains, it stops. You don't really find raining back and forth. And most time whenever it rains for a period of time, and then it stops. And you're good into the next day for the most part. So sometimes you may have that, it's going to rain. It may not rain at all day. And you may get those 2 or 3 days where it get that feeling with wind blowing and it's overcast and it feels like it's going to rain, and you might not get a drop of rain. So, but just understand when it does rain and when it stops, you don't have to really worry about it rain again that night. Maybe the next day it may rain. So the next thing you want to do is just understand the water is potable, drinkable in Medellin. It's also drinkable in Bogota. I just thought about that. Not in Cartagena though. And that makes a big difference because if you like me, if you buy water a lot, you don't want to have to go out to the store just to get water, especially if you drink a lot of water and have to be lugging water around, even if you have to go to the store only for water. And there's some people who don't drink water, water from the sink here or in the States. So I understand that, but just understand that you can if you want to, because I definitely drink it all the time. Whenever you come to the city, once you change your money in the exchange place or end up, getting money from ATM, you want to try to break it down as much as possible. Go into, McDonald's or some type of store and break the biggest bill you can have, because you want to have as much small change as possible. Because if you end up buying a lot of this food from the street or these small stores, believe it or not, they're not going to even have small change. I just remember having like 10 mil pesos, which is basically $4, maybe basically $3. And I bought something for 6 mil pesos. They didn't have 4 mil pesos left for change. Like, what? Get out of here. Don't have change. So sometimes, you don't have to necessarily need exact change, but you want to carry more change than not when you do, exchange your money. And then while we're talking about that, the next one is, you pretty much use a credit card just about anywhere, especially a credit card like American Express. I was shocked. I've been able to use American Express card here that some places I couldn't even use in the States. They tend to take credit card just about anywhere. So that's a cool thing that, something to think about, if you're trying to figure out, okay, should I get this much money? Should I be able to use my credit card? It helps a lot because that's exactly what I do. I get out X number of dollars and I use my credit card and buy things like at the grocery store. If I'm going to do fast food or whatever, McDonald's, even though I don't do a lot of McDonald's, but anyway, I will go to those places that have kind of like a chain in the area, whether it's local or foreign. And I tend to use my credit card at those places. And when it comes to street cards, like I'm buying an empanada or some type of drink off the street or water, whatever, I tend to have change in my pocket. Or if I'm at another fruit stand, they tend to, a lot of these places don't use credit card. So I use my, change for places like that. So anyway, guys, that's probably thousands of more tips I could share with you. But I think for now, this is enough. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any more questions or concern, please drop a comment below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I definitely will see you in the next video.